Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just spilled coffee on my keyboard. Good thing it's a Logitech. Because it won't affect it now. If we get through this episode, it'll be a miracle.
Come on, Rocco. All you got to do is kick it off. We got it from there.
I can if you're talking.
All right, come on. You can do this.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rocco. Go ahead,
Welcome
kick off
to
right now.
Destination.
Start. Go ahead.
It's usually
Lord.
me who can
Give me
together.
strength. Stop it.
Sorry.
Do you know what you've been up to this week, Rocco?
Breaking keyboards. Sippy cup.
Speak of would help, actually.
I think this episode should be called Spill the Beans.
There you go.
Very funny, Zeb. Very funny.
I like that idea, actually. Now,
Right.
can we pull it off? No, but I like the idea.
Let's take a quick sound recording. Make sure we're good.
And my fox is still jumping over the dog.
Yeah, makes sense.
I
Slowly.
love GNOME. Good GNOME. So much.
This much.
Welcome to another episode of Destination Linux podcast.
Welcome to episode 60. I'm Rocco,
I'm Ryan.
I'm Zeb.
And I'm Michael.
and this is Destination Linux. This week we're going to be covering Archmerge, kind of switching things around. Little Ubuntu news, little Firefox, a little bit of everything. So stick around. So, gentlemen, what's going on?
We've got a lot of news to cover this week.
Well, before we cover the news, dude, what's going on with you this week?
I did it, man. I took on your challenge. You know, rarely do I listen to anything you say. But
I know.
Rarely do you ever listen to anything I say. But I decided, you know what? Rocco's been telling me. If you're going to, experience GNOME, you have to use it for more than a couple days. You need to put it on your machines. You need to experience the workflow. And then maybe you can put your money where your mouth is. You've been, we've been a little harshish on GNOME. And so I thought, you know what? Rocco's right. It's time to kind of put my money where my mouth is and put GNOME on all of my machines. That includes the Beast. The Beast is running on GNOME right now.
Wow.
And in fact, I'm on GNOME at this moment. And so I've been doing that all week. I've been learning GNOME, playing with it, watching some of your old videos, Rocco. And so that's what I've been up to in the challenge.
Nice.
What about you, Michael? What have you been up to? You switched to GNOME too?
No, I've used GNOME before. I actually used to contribute to GNOME and managed multiple extensions. So I know quite a bit about GNOME.
Yeah, but 2009 doesn't count.
Exactly.
No. It was like 2013, 2014. It was reasonably. It was far away. It was a while ago. But what I have been doing is looking at more music players because naturally, I found another one that's actually like interesting and good, and it looks awful by default, but you can change it and make it better. So that's nice, I guess. But what's really cool, the thing I liked about this, what I did this week was, or maybe the most noteworthy thing, is that I built a ridiculous macro keyboard. So have you ever thought, I 110 keys on my keyboard is not enough. Have you ever needed 200?
Yeah, because everybody needs 200.
Everyone needs 200 keys. Exactly. So one keyboard is a regular keyboard. The other keyboard, all the keys do individual functions, and they are like, I use some bash scripts to make them do whatever random things I want them to do. And I'm also working on trying to make a profile system so they work. The keyboard becomes a different macro thing for each application. So yeah,
it's kind of like the poor man's i3.
No,
if he can remember,
but it would make i3 useful. So there you go.
If he can remember 105 shortcuts, i3 is going to be a breeze. That's crazy.
Yeah, you might be able to use i3, Michael.
I already have.
No, I mean seriously.
I already have. Seriously.
No, seriously.
But I said, Zeb, what have you been doing? What have you been doing this week, Zeb?
Well, I decided to set myself a challenge. I've tried it a couple of times now, but never quite got Gen 2 working. So I've not gone pure Gen 2. Yeah, I've gone Calculate. And I've actually cracked it. I've got a working version of Calculate now where I can just log on, do my OBS, do my ETS tracking, and live stream. I had a lot of help from Serge, but no. So the big question for me is Gen 2 this mythical, magical operating system?
Yeah. Have you been able to answer it yet? No.
No. It's just bloody difficult to set up, and there's no upside to it. It's no faster than KDE Neon. It's no faster than Peppermint. So I'll keep it there, but it's working. But next.
Well, I think the point, and Rocco, you've made this point before, because there's actually a couple of Gen 2 operating systems out there that kind of fix the installer barrier, right? They add a simpler installer and all that stuff. But doesn't that in itself take away the whole purpose of Gen 2, which is supposed to be kind of every element customized to your hardware so that it's faster, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, on top of that, part of it is the same reason in Arch where you would install it is to learn. And, you know, learning how to install things in Gen 2 might, you know, give you a headache and blow your mind. Doing it in Calculate Linux is way easier, but you defeat the purpose of actually learning how to do it. So I don't know. I don't think I don't think Gen 2 in general is for somebody like me. I can tell you that.
Mm. And I also don't think that with today's technology and all of the improvements that have been made, compiling each individual component for your PC, you're talking about nanoseconds difference. I mean, I think Serge was telling me that he can get his Gen 2 to boot in 3 seconds. So does Peppermint.
Yeah.
So I don't think it applies as much now as it used to, where if you compile it all yourself, you get that performance hit.
Yeah, and I only boot my machine once a day at the most, sometimes once a week.
Think about that half a second you could save.
Think about
well,
all
even if it's like saving 10 seconds, I don't care.
Think about all the time you could save using a regular distribution.
Yeah, by not compiling everything. Yeah.
Or think about all the time you could save just using a single 110 key keyboard.
Right. Exactly.
No, I don't understand your point. What? You don't want 200 keys? That doesn't seem right.
You'll have to let us know.
There's probably half a dozen I've never used anyway on this keyboard.
I actually found out that I wanted to make like certain like shortcuts that I didn't have enough keys for. So, yeah, 200 keys. That's how you do it.
Rocco, how are you doing with keyboards these days?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Ryan, because you know, right before this episode, because that's what Ryan's trying to get out of me here, is that right before the episode, we were just about to start the Zoom room and let all the patrons in, and my keyboard dies. I mean,
they had to wait.
And then I got to go down in the garage and get a keyboard that has another operating system label on it just to come up and finish the episode. So
so you're doing great.
Yeah, that's pretty much my week. So it's all good.
Michael's over there with 2 keyboards.
I can't even get one.
Can't even get one working.
Well, I mean,
that's how it goes.
The quality of my keyboards aren't that they're like, you know, $10, $15 keyboards, so you can have as many ones of those as you want.
Well, I think this Microsoft was one of those as well. So,
well, the good news, Rocco, is now you get to go buy a new keyboard, and that can be a lot of fun. And I suggest the Corsair.
Really?
K65, K70. I think you might like that, man.
Okay. Is it waterproof?
No, but when I send you your sippy cup, that will resolve that issue. So now you can have the keyboard and not worry about spilling your drink too.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, what are we covering this week? Let's move on. Okay.
Yeah, we wasn't going to leave you hanging
so
at all.
Speaking of which, since I remembered, So did you find as your favorite features of GNOME since you started using it?
So look, I went into this and I had my opinions, which everybody knows. I don't need to repeat them on GNOME and its workflow, and was very set that, I like a lot of different desktop environments, Mate, KDE, that I was not going to enjoy some of the setups of GNOME, but I was wrong. Okay. I will admit that there are a lot of things in here that I actually do like. And the more time that I spent with it, the more I learned. Now, some of these things are kind of, they're hidden, so you don't really know they're there the first time you're in GNOME. And what I'm talking about specifically is extensions that are in there in the tweak tool. Now, a lot of people who use Linux and stuff know about the tweak tool. But once you combine those two things together, then you start having all of these options to really customize GNOME's flow to your own. And I was able to customize some of the stuff to make it run like other desktops that I personally work with my workflow. And some of those extensions, for instance, like Shell Tile. So now I have this i3-like experience utilizing, and I said like, not exactly i3, but it's very like in that you can move windows into positions, multiple different positions, tile your windows across your screen. So even like right now I'm in GNOME and I have 7 screens open that are tiled using Shell Tile, which is really cool. I can do that within a GNOME flow.
Now, does that offer like keyboard shortcuts like i3?
It does. It has keyboard shortcuts in it, but they're not like, i3, you can do all kinds of different, you're writing code with i3, right? So you can make it do what you want. Whereas this is more kind of the pre-set up macro stuff. So there's some pre-configured ones you can go in there and set the key combinations to what you want, etc. But I wouldn't say it's as powerful, but it's pretty close.
It's not automatic. You just tell it to go where you want it to go.
Yeah.
But with i3, it's automatic.
One of the big complaints that I had for me and my workflow was the fact that when you click on the applications and it takes over your screen and then your other monitor is gone. Well, there are extensions like, number one, I installed no top left hot corner, which removes the hot corner thing because I kept always hitting that thing. And then, I put in no menu, I guess you would call it. And that basically kind of gives you a menu option and also a lot of preferences within that tool to give me a normal, what I want in a menu, which is just a kind of menu that's categorized almost like you get in standard KDE or Breeze or something like that. And so
did that take away because you had a problem where you hit the menu and all 2 screens went in.
Exactly. Yeah. So that basically removes that issue entirely because now I just have a standard menu.
So the overview still works. It's just now you have to do it in a different way.
Exactly.
But the button will now just associate to the menu.
And then additionally, to make it even kind of faster, because I was like, well, I'm still not as fast in this, I could say, against any desktop besides i3 as I am in i3 and launching something with like J4 menu or D3 menu or whatever. So what I decided to do was take Synapse. Well, I ended up using GNOME Do. I started with Synapse, but moved to GNOME Do. And that allows me to set up a key combination like I do super key D, like I would in i3, and I could type an app and it automatically starts coming up, hit enter, and boom, I can launch applications really quick. So in the end, I was able to, utilizing extensions, create a workflow that I think is pretty excellent. For a desktop environment. Again, you've got to use 2 things that don't necessarily come standard with your Ubuntu installation. You don't have the tweak tool there. You got to go install it. And your extensions, they don't really talk about a whole lot, but everybody else does, so you can find them really quick. But once you do that, there's a lot going for the desktop. So is it my favorite? No. But can you make it pretty awesome? Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff within there, especially the work that the team has done. The community has done with those extensions is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's also one that's really cool that people should try out. It's called a Quick Close Overview. It's something I used to maintain, and someone else, when I stopped maintaining extensions, someone else took over and actually does it probably better than me. And it's a cool feature where you can just middle click any of the windows in the overview and it'll automatically close that application.
Oh, that's nice. The other thing I love on the global menu. They remove all of the kind of the minus and full screen buttons and you can just double click on things to minimize in the middle of the title bar instead of having to move your cursor all the way. So those things are actually faster than your standard desktop, with those type of features installed, which I thought was pretty cool.
So do you want Rocco to send you your GNOME back?
I wouldn't go that far yet. I think Rocco's still the #1 fan of GNOME, but I will say that, there is a lot there that you can do to make it something. If it's not what you want initially, there's a lot of tools there to make it something pretty cool. And I was really excited that I got it to act like, in some ways, like i3, being able to launch menus, launch applications and snap windows very quickly and efficiently is kind of cool. And being able to launch with keyboard shortcuts, there's a lot of keyboard shortcut options in GNOME, allowed me to be pretty efficient as well. And so there's some really cool things there. Now you could do all that with KDE and all that. So I guess at the end of the day, the story is it's pretty close to other things that are out there. And if it's you like that workflow,
I need to try that shell tile again, because the last time I tried it didn't have shortcuts like that. So I want to try those again.
Yep.
Nice.
Very nice. So we have a lot of news for Arch this week, Ryan. What do we got?
Yahoo, man. I love when we're talking about Arch, because I love me some Arch. We've got Archlabs in the news. So they're going to a 2018.2 in their latest release here. And they've got some changes and improvements that they've put under the hood. Anybody want to take a swag at some of these changes and improvements here that they've listed?
I'm just on the usual end user trail here. So what was Go Rice? I'd never heard of it. What did Go Rice do for you?
Apparently they don't really, it was kind of just a novelty item, whatever it was. And they're just telling people, hey, it was a novelty item and we're getting rid of it. I don't even know what Go Rice was either. Probably a lot of people didn't know what it was. So that was one thing.
Get rid of it.
That's right. Just the fact you asked that question is why it's gone.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So again, this is sounds a bit like the GNOME issue of last week. Lots of little things have been happening in the background, but nothing too major. So it's just tweaking the system from what I'm reading here. Because other than OpenBox has now got some nice improvements, and that one thing I always found that was difficult about OpenBox was you add a piece of software, and if you then didn't remember to go and rebuild your your start button and your menu system, you could never find the thing. Yeah. So if they're making that easier, then that'll be good.
I agree. They're big open box. Archlabs is that's kind of their default, and they've done a lot of work in there for their pipe menus and adding additional options to add menus, even if you don't have apps to put into them right away. And I thought Rocco would be thrilled about the Genie theme receiving some tidying up and visual glitches.
I'm sure it looks great.
Rocco's going to be there to inspect it.
I don't think that I've seen the Genie theme, probably because I'm not a big Arch guy, but I'm sure it looks great.
I thought of an idea for your videos. You should have a white glove that you kind of like put on before you do a review of somebody's theme, Like, we're ready to take a look at Archlabs' new Genie theme.
Well, they're
find any guest in this one.
Yeah.
They're highlighting some changes to the hello screen. I guess it's the installation and the screens you see. And it is now a multi-choice screen rather than a paginated multi-screen. So
that's word you don't hear every day.
Yeah, that was like way back, ain't? Like there was a Firefox add-on that did that for Google search, ain't? Anybody remember that?
Unpaginated it?
Yeah,
I've always called it paginated, but it probably is paginated because it makes more sense because it's pages. But
maybe it is paginated. I don't know.
Time.
We say everything wrong here on Destination Linux.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're gonna have to get with the program, Michael.
I assumed that it was paginated, but it probably isn't, just because it's pages and it makes more sense to not be. But I use pagination on tons of things. Like I always kind of like. There's a lot of times where it's useful, and sometimes people overdo it, and that you got to know when it's useful and when it's not. So if they don't think it's useful, that's more than likely they're made a good decision to remove it.
All right, so. Yeah. Brian.
Yeah.
Erik Dubois.
He is the man.
He is the man. Okay.
Him and Dolphin, man, Ike, all those are some of the favorites of the show, You know this.
We don't make favorites.
Yes, we do. We sure as heck do have favorites.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he finally made it on Distrowatch with Archmerge.
I mean, what exciting news. I know he didn't really care, right? He's kind of like, hey, I submitted it. If it shows up and it's great. That's just kind of how Erik is, right? He's focused on the product at the end of the day, but it's there. You can now search for it, and he's getting good ratings. I think he's like at an 8.8 already for review of Archmerge. So people are really, that's out of 10. That's amazing, right?
Mhm.
People are really enjoying it and talking about it. And
But wait, there is major news just out this week. I think it was yesterday they came out with it, that they are rebranding Archmerge. And it is no longer going to be Archmerge and Archmerged. It's going to be ArcoLinux. What do you think?
I mean, I'm upset because he didn't consult with me and I'm an official beta tester. All these decisions should be going through me, Erik.
Right. They wanted he wanted to. Ryan is disappointed because he wanted to merge his ideas with yours.
Right.
Yeah. It should be like DOS merge is what we should have renamed it,
Right. Of course.
Yeah. Put my name in there.
So my question is, why? Archmerge was such a good name. What has forced him to well, not forced him, but what has made him decide he needs to come away from that name? Do we know?
Well, after watching the video, there was multiple issues that he talked about. And one of those issues had to do with some copyright information, copyright in the name where...
Technically, yeah. ArcoLinux name is copyrighted.
Yeah, technically, because it says Archmerge. I don't know how that plays out with other distributions like Archlabs and other ones that have Arch in the name. I mean, I don't know how that plays out on them, but that was one of the reasons he gives for changing it into Arco.
Well, it could be more like a future proofing thing. So if, like, let's say Archmerge gets big enough where it will matter at some point, then that becomes an issue. So instead of worrying about it and later, he can just go ahead and change it now and then build that with that name. It's in like the thing of the ArchLinux ARM project. They actually are not a part of the ArchLinux project at all, but they requested written permission to use the ArchLinux name. So there was people in like the projects like that have like direct permission are fine, but there's potential where it could be a problem in the future.
So do you think it was just his popularity? Because looking on Distrowatch, you've got Arch, Archbang, Archlabs, Archman, Archmerge, Archstrike. Why are they not all changing their name?
I think they're just, they might not just be aware that could be a problem for them in the future. I mean, maybe they're just not aware of it.
But Archbang's been there for years.
Yep.
Well, yeah, Archbang is a derivative name of Crunchbang on Arch. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if they'd have a problem. Like if there's, I don't think they'd actually have a problem with it really. But there are some instances, like let's say for example, you want to make a shirt. Well, if you want to make a shirt and you go to a company that has like any kind of copyright requirements, and you have Arch Linux as part of your name, you have to get permission to do it in order to just make a thing of your own project. So in this case, that he could avoid that entirely. So I mean, that might be why.
I mean, I think there's a lot of, obviously this is going to take a ton of work for him to implement. So he's got to have a lot of reasons he feels strongly about, because Erik has 288 videos on Archmerge out there right now that he's going to have to completely rename and at least remove the text. And that's not even going to fix the fact that he says probably Archmerge multiple times throughout some of those videos. So, it's a major undertaking, new websites, new everything. This is a big deal. I mean, obviously he did a video on why he's changing the name, and he mentioned some things, that it's the product has changed quite a bit. There's 8 desktops now instead of just 3, and he feels the name fits better with the product, but it's a big deal. And, I don't know how that affects his Distrowatch rankings and all of that.
I was just about to say, surely he
all again or something.
Yeah. Does he just flip the name and they say, yep, fine, go ahead? Because it's the same product, just a different name.
Yeah, they shouldn't have a problem with it, because all their data is stored in like ID numbers and stuff, so they don't really care about the names.
Well, let's hope so for his sake.
Yeah. So Arch, translated into many languages, often resulted in Arco, which is part of the reason why they picked that name. So it was either Arco or Arca, and they went with ArcoLinux. And the website is arcolinux.info if you want to get some more information, you want to continue following them. Erik does some great work. So
yeah, he does.
arcolinux.info.
I was going to say, we were talking at the beginning of the show, we thought it was going to be Arco D, but it's not. It's ArcoLinux and ArcoLinux D. So he's actually using the Linux as part of the name, whereas you had Archmerge and Archmerged.
Yeah.
We're not having Arcode. It's ArcoLinux D or ArcoLinux, however you want to pronounce it.
Doesn't it have to be GNU Linux?
GNU/Linux.
It's not technically correct unless it has GNU in there.
And he also does have a video out there explaining this whole reasoning of why he's changed. So you can check that out too.
Yeah, we'll have to have Erik on again, when he's got some more major releases and stuff, and then we'll put him under the spotlight and make him spill the beans on what exactly happened here.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, so we also have some news of a new Arch distro, SwagArch. What do you think about that? SwagArch 18.03 has been released, and if you've got Swag, this might be your distro.
Got Swag.
Yeah.
I actually covered this on my podcast a couple months ago, and for another release, because the name is fantastic. That's just a fun name, but it's also they put a lot of effort into simplifying and making nice looking themes for Arch as well. So the out of the box experience with SwagArch is a lot better. As far as when you first get into it, you don't have the Arch vibe that you normally would expect.
Wait, how did you cover this a couple months ago if this is just released?
No, SwagArch has been around for a while.
Different release.
Oh, okay.
1711 or 1711 release.
I thought this was new. I hadn't heard of it before.
I've used it before.
It's a fairly new project. I don't think they've been around for that long. I think they've been around for 6 months or so. But,
yeah, possibly. But the thing I like about it is it doesn't try to do anything too clever. It just gives you an easy Arch install. Yes, they've got some really nice themes, like Michael said, and they've chosen some really cool wallpapers. And I'm sure they've made most of them up themselves because they've got SwagArch all over the place. But this was one of the Arch installers that just works. I never had a single problem. And unlike Anarchy, it didn't eat my UEFI drive. So I was happy with that.
That's good news.
That's a good news.
So it's actually quite a good little distro.
Well, Ryan, you ought to like it because it has Xfce.
Well, anybody who uses Xfce obviously gets an A+ in my book. And Michael, you should like the guy's name who created it, Mike Kruger. I mean, we all got something to love here.
Yeah,
Michael, Xfce, German. I mean, come on.
He doesn't have to have the same name. He already has Swag, and therefore automatically.
Oh man, nice.
Well, I like it. It's got the CalMars installer, and it's got good themes. So hey.
Well, what's interesting is if you look at Mike Kruger, some of his work experience, he has lots of coding experience, which is awesome. And he has a whole page that tells you what percentage he knows of each language, which is pretty cool. And then, but additionally, you could see he has a heavy focus on art and photography as well. When you actually link to his about page about SwagArch, you get to that, and you can see some of his photography and art, which means you probably really would like this distro. Because he might have every pixel perfect.
Well, it says press F12 to be a hero with the drop-down terminal. I love the drop-down terminal, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That is
I don't like that shortcut, but that is the standard shortcut for everything.
That is.
Drop-down. We should change that. But anyway, I do like the fact that they they have a nice theme for everything, but they also add the extra nerdiness on top with the drop down terminal and stuff like that.
The extra nerdiness on top. I like that. Yeah, man. Good way to describe it.
Yeah. So I was going to say, Ubuntu have now. I know they've got to keep their LTSs for a long, long time, but it just seems a bit strange that a month before the new LTS is going to drop, they bring out 1604.4.
This is a thing that they do. Like they actually plan to make the release for 1604.4 to, I think it was like early February or like late January, but the Meltdown Spectre thing caused them to wait.
Ah, right. Okay. So it's not normally just like the month before.
Right. It's not normally right before.
Ah, right. Okay.
And they'll probably have another release in like either July or August for the 0.5.
Mm-hmm. So are there then separate teams completely that work on the old LTS and the new LTS, or how do they manage their workflow? How do they manage their time if they're working on two different LTSs?
Well, the LTS for 1604 is mainly just maintenance and bug fixes and things like that. Like that's probably 10-20% of the time they spend for the desktop itself. Like the desktop team is focused mostly on the newer versions, and they go back to the older versions when there's like things that are necessary to fix and things like that. But I'd say the vast majority of the time they're working on new ones. Okay,
so the old LTS point releases are just bug fixes. They'll never introduce new features.
Right. It's just security improvements, bug fixes, things like that. That's basically that's it. Yeah, because the LTS, like the LTS is still there. There's always 5 years support for an LTS for every version, but since 1404 technically 1204 was like 3 years, I think. But the 5 years thing is also not even like a fully just 5 years. There's also like a commercial service that someone can have like an extended LTS if they wanted to. So like even though 1804 is coming out, they will continue to make 1604 updates and patches and when necessary, even when 2004 comes out.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, so Ubuntu Software Center. I know this is Ryan's favorite topic is software centers.
I love software centers. All of them are so good. They're all so well done. Everywhere you go is a great software center just waiting to be uncovered.
Well, Ubuntu Software Center will soon let you install beta bleeding edge snap apps, if that's your fancy.
Well, I like to be on the bleeding edge because I like Arch.
Yeah. So you'll be able to install any program that has a snap beta channel alongside of the regular apps. So what do you think, Michael?
I think this is awesome. Like for multiple reasons. One, some people have problems with even figuring out if it's a snap or not in the store. So this will imply that it's if you can select a channel, it's definitely a snap. So there you go.
Sorry, I had a cough there.
Now, is there going to be some type of indicator anywhere? Do you know that shows that this is a, like if for your installed software?
Are you talking about which channel you're on, Rocco?
Yeah. Well,
yes, there's going to be a little switch. So when you go to install it, it'll actually have a drop down that shows you channel option, stable candidate, beta, and edge, and then you can also revert back. So let's say you chose edge and you're like, this is way too edgy for me. You can go back. I want stable and switch to stable version of it as well. So it'll have an actual toggle in the store, and that's really the big change.
Very nice.
You used
technically they could you can actually install all four at the same time if you want. Yeah. That's another reason why snaps are great.
Okay, so if you installed all four at the same time,
how would they tell you in the menus?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think they've actually announced if they're gonna they should just say have parentheses what channel this one is for. That would solve it completely, and that way the main one doesn't have a parentheses at all because it's automatically you assume the stable one's the main one.
Right. Well, is there any indication in the Software Center now that shows that it's a snap app rather than a regular app?
Not that I've seen. But to be fair, most of the time I use snaps, it's in the command line, so I don't know. I kind of agree with Ryan in some aspects.
Well, I usually use the terminal to install Snap App too. It just came up in my, random things come up in my head once in a while, Naturally. So I was just wondering if there was a distinction in the Software Center between a snap app and a regular app.
I don't think it shows you whether it's a snap or a deb or anything, but it used to be where if you install the snap, it automatically takes precedence over the deb. So that might be like, so if you install the snap, it's automatically a snap unless you manually activate the deb version.
So bringing in some of these new features, does that mean they're not going to fix some of the old ones that don't work? Because I mean, I've seen lots of Ubuntu software, and you go onto the web page, and it gives you a great description, and it says, "Click here to install it." It never works. It's meant to bring up the software center and take you to the app and go, "Here we go. I'm going to install it."
What browser do you use?
Chrome.
There you go. There's one. And
Okay,
I'm not even joking. That's legitimately why. Because Firefox is the default for Ubuntu's distro. So they built a protocol of apt:// that works in Firefox because they put it in there. It doesn't exist in Chrome because you have to put that in there. So unless you have that protocol set up in Chrome, it can't work. So that's why you've never seen that work before. The app links, all its purpose is to open this the Software Center or the Ubuntu software app with the direct link to that application. That's all it's for anyway. So that it's just more of a shortcut than anything else. But it's kind of like it's a thing that I made a video a long time ago that kind of said, why are they not just using the web version of their store? Because it was really good for years, and the Software Center, the old Software Center, was awful. But there's really no reason that they've never given a reason why it seems like they've abandoned the website for the web version of the Ubuntu Software Store, because I don't think it's been updated in a while. At least the last time I checked it, it was like not since 1404 or something. So I think it's just like lingering on.
Because Bodhi seemed to have a good web interface installing, like web store or software store.
Yeah, theirs is nice. But as far as the Chrome situation, the apt URL thing, I don't think you can actually customize or register protocols inside of Chrome, so that there might be an extension for it, but I don't know. But as far as like the built-in, I don't think it's possible.
Oh, okay.
Let's move away, Rocco, from stuff that doesn't work and move into something that always works. That always works perfectly.
You mean like Ubuntu Mate?
Like Xfce 4.14.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
People give Xfce a hard time sometimes.
Sometimes.
Do that.
And
that's ridiculous,
because it happens to be one of the most stable and amazing desktop environments out there, undeniably. And they are working on 4.14, but there's one problem. There's one thing that people, give Xfce some beatings over, and that's its long release cycle. Of course, that's why it's always so stable too. But 4.14, it's already supposed to be out based on their normal release cycle for Xfce. It should already been out, but it's delayed. What do you think?
I'd say they don't really have a normal release cycle, but
shut up.
They've made a lot of progress on it. I'll give them credit for that, because it's like the amount of people who work on Xfce is like maybe 4, and they all do it in their spare time and stuff. So like the amount of work they put into it is like significant for the amount of people and the amount of time that they've had it. They're available to put into it, and they're not. It's not like there's no company behind it, so it's just them doing it whenever they want, whenever they have the time to do it.
I don't know, maybe about 4 core people, but they have about 15 contributors total, and they do a lot of work here. I mean,
the core people.
Yeah, they do a lot of work here to port this over to GTK 3, which is taking all the time.
It's a huge task too.
Huge undertaking for them, and they're about 95% complete right now. So they're also working on hundreds of different bugs and little reports and things on all of the various products like XF Desktop, Thunar, and other things, Thunar. So, I mean, there's just a lot of work going into it, but 95% is promising. That means soon we'll be able to play with this thing. So
my only fear is, when's GTK 4 coming out?
We don't know. GNOME doesn't really give information about that kind of thing. They only do like the point release information, but
so it's not imminent.
Technically matter, because the GNOME. The reason why the GNOME 3, the GNOME 2 thing was such a point to make about Xfce was because GNOME 2 was deprecated. Because GNOME decided to just kill GTK 2 and GNOME 2 like outright, and then go straight to GNOME 3. They learned their lesson this time. and they're not going to kill GTK3. So even if the GTK4 comes out, that GTK3 will still be heavily used for at least a couple years or so before the GTK4 thing comes out, because you can guarantee GTK4 will have massive breakage, at least for the first few versions, because the GNOME team have said that that's going to happen. They're going to break APIs when they switch. So the vast majority of desktops, even things like Cinnamon and Mate and everything else, will stay with GTK3 more than likely, at least for a while.
Now, they talk a lot here about the modularity of Xfce. Does that mean that you can, if you're clever enough, have a mixture of the two components, the GTK2 and the GTK3, if you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
You can, yeah?
It's not a good idea for the desktop itself to do that. That's why they've been switching it over, but it is possible technically to do it. It's just as far as like applications, it's fine to do that. There's no problem with that. Like even Firefox was GTK2 for I think they switched GTK3 just like 6 months ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I used to give Xfce a really hard time, and haven't used to. I did. I gave it a very hard time, but after having Sean Davis on the show and talking to him, and actually when you see the faces behind what's going on, you get to realize it's not just a program. It's not just a, something that's there. It's people actually putting in time and effort and work into it. So I can't bust on it anymore.
Yeah. Sean, remember who's loved you from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was me.
Whoa.
But
Mr. KD.
also, actually, Sean Davis does make a really awesome feature, and it's an Xfce thing, but it's mostly in like Ubuntu, but other things use it. Have you heard of Menu Libre?
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sean Davis makes Menu Libre. It is fantastic. It is easily the best GTK menu editor in existence, and the fact that they just released the newest version that has Plasma support, that's pretty cool. So, like,
very nice.
There are things that they are making that even people who are like, a lot of people are using it, even if they don't even know that. So, Elementary and System 76 announced that they are going to team up for an encryption by default for Pop! OS, and also potentially for Elementary OS. So, what it's going to do is going to set up, like, a lot of times when you install a distro, that'll give you an option. Would you like to encrypt your disk? Like by your home directory or the entire thing, and instead of doing that, this is going to automatically have it encrypted by default, which is actually quite difficult to do, and that's why they don't have the checkbox in the first place. So they like having it automatically assume that it's going to work is typically not a good idea for a distro to do. So the fact that they're putting their effort into making this work like just by default, specifically for now on System 76 hardware and with Pop! OS, but in the future, Cassidy from both System 76 and Elementary said that there is potential that the Elementary team will adopt some of this code to make it work. So that's pretty awesome.
I have never encrypted any drive that I've installed. I've actually never tried it. As many as installs that I have done, I've never tried encrypting the drive. I always felt leery about it, thinking, oh, well, if I mess something up, I won't be able to get back to my documents, because I used to use an encryption program when I was on a different operating system. And just so you know,
TrueCrypt?
If Axcrypt, actually, if you forget the password, you can't get your files back.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Mm-hmm. And if you change your password, sometimes that messes it up too.
So I've never actually tried encryption, but obviously with System 76, with their computers and selling them to whoever, governments and whatnot, they need that option, and they need it in the installer. So I think it's great. I think it's great that they're teaming up together to make it happen.
I think that's the best news out of this whole thing, is seeing the partnership between companies within Linux, seeing people work together towards a solution. And the solution they came up with is really kind of genius, right? Because you've got this problem like you described, where you want to ship the computer to the end users and you want it to be mostly set up. And so the system admins don't have to sit there and get a USB and download an ISO and then install the operating system. But if you do that, if you set it up for them before you ship it to them, then they don't have the option to choose whether to encrypt or not. So
Right.
what's happening today is they're sending the computers out, and the admins, even though it's already pre-set up, are wiping the computer with the, using a USB like any of us else and redoing the entire install. So somebody within these geniuses here was like, hey, we've got a recovery partition. So let's just ship it so that it boots in the recovery partition, which means as soon as you boot it, you're basically going through the full installation path. Pretty simple solution, but now it allows everyone to have that option to choose the encryption, and they're going to make it a lot more clear and kind of apparent in the installation, during the installation screen, of why encrypting is so important, so that more people are choosing it and not skipping it.
Yep.
But are you going to be forced to use it if you use Pop OS?
No.
So you'll always have the option to opt out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you can. I think they have a choice by default. It's on.
Mhm.
So, it'd be better if
Because
you,
like Rocco,
The whole
I've never done it.
The whole opt-out thing.
Yeah, I think we've done that one to death over the last 2 weeks.
in this case, opt out is perfect. It's perfect. I don't think anybody has a problem with it.
Well, they're talking about trying to ship this with the next iteration of elementary, which would be Juno, and that's the goal anyway. They don't know if they're going to get there. They, their motto is do it when it's ready, but the goal is to get it in Juno. We'll see.
We'll see indeed. Now, talking of seeing, apparently they're also going to be updating HiDPI. Now, one of the things that I've always found confusing, because I've got a 4K monitor, and I wouldn't have bought a 4K monitor if I didn't want that much information on my screen. So to see somebody saying, okay, yeah, I've got this great 4K 29-inch monitor, but I want to blow everything up by 300%. Don't go 4K if you can't see it on the screen. I just don't get it. I've got 4K, and as I say, I can see everything perfectly, and I don't ever mess around. And it really annoys me when the other OS, when you first boot up, you're on 300%. So you've now got Fisher-Price icons on your desktop.
Fisher-Price.
If you can't see the desktop, don't go 4K.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why it's
also
you need
a density problem, a density thing. It's more like some people get 4K because they want to have like this more space, real screen real estate, like you do. There's also people who want to have it because it's more crisp, because like video is more crisp, gaming's more crisp, but it's more crisp because there's more content that can be pushed in the pixels. So that's kind of why they're like, that's a problem, because if the desktop environment doesn't compensate for that, or the system itself doesn't compensate for that in some way, there could be parts where it's gorgeous and then other parts where it's just like broken completely. So like that would be off-putting, I think, for a lot of people if they're not looking for the screen real estate anyway.
But in all of the distros I've ever found, I've never had that problem. Everything has always been crisp and clear, and you can see everything. But you're right, you've just got this huge real estate in front of me where you can have 6 Word documents open and read them full screen, or A4 size, instead of just 3 or 2.
See, I've been doing it wrong the whole time. I thought the purpose of 4K was so that you go to Starbucks and tell people you had a 4K monitor.
You go to Starbucks?
That's the only reason I want it.
Of course, man. You go to Starbucks with your MacBook. What are you talking about?
But it's good that they've recognized that there is a problem out there, and they're going to be trying to solve it in some of their updates soon. So more kudos to them. They seem to be understanding the needs of their customer base.
There are some times where applications also don't obey the settings by default. So like they'll detect that you have HiDPI and then try to use it, like the application itself try to do it where it doesn't do it well or something like that. So if like the desktop environment solves that up front, you wouldn't have to worry those kind of things. So
Gotcha.
Either way, it's really good that they're doing it, especially since they're doing it in a daemon approach that is possible that they could, other people could benefit from the work they're doing for it.
Yep. Well, along with the daemon release that they're going to do, they're also making updates to the installer. So the installer will now allow illustrations to pop up on the screen or pop up in the installer while you're reading your information or entering your information. So they're making a lot of good headway over at System 76,
making
and
things
Pop! OS.
Prettier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I think that's the elementary influence, isn't it? Because elementary is very pretty by default.
Well, having them work together is going to create a really beautiful baby, if you will, right? Kind of like the Brangelee combination or something.
One of the employees.
They're the Brangelee of Linux.
No, I'm gonna skip that part. So one of the employees of System 76 is Cassidy, and he actually works. He's like, I don't know if he's a co-founder, but he's one of the main developers for elementary. So it's kind of perfect.
Nice. Well, you know what's really perfect is when DOS Geek goes and gets something, it gets the attention of major corporations all around the world. Google freaked out when they saw my videos on the Chromebook, and they said, you know what? This guy is really onto something, and we're going to bring more Linux into ChromeOS, and we're going to do it right now. And so that is what Google is hard at work doing. They are putting more Linux within ChromeOS. So as you guys know, Crouton is the thing, right?
Sure.
And the problem with Crouton, though, is when you are installing it, it creates a vulnerability with the hardware. So what are they? I want you to tell people, Rocco, what are they doing here?
What are they doing? I have no idea.
Well, it's called Croutini. How dare you, Zeb? What are they doing here?
Well, apparently they're going to allow you to run Linux virtual machines easier.
Yeah, man, that's right. What do you think, Michael?
It's cool. I mean, it's nice to have ability to use like actual
It's cool. It's cool. It's just the most popular laptop on the market. It's going to run Linux in a virtual machine.
Because it's $50.
What is wrong with you people?
But what value is that adding to them? Like, why is this a big thing? Why are they concerned about running Linux in a containerized virtual machine?
I think it destroys any opportunity for something like, which they're already destroying, don't get me wrong, but any opportunity for something like a Windows S or other low-end laptop to really come in, because one of the main features of having a Windows S laptop is it's cheap like a Chromebook, number one, and you can upgrade it essentially and get these full apps, or you could use the actual app store and use things like Office and all of that. On a Chromebook, a lot of things are web-based. Of course, the newer Chromebooks at least have the Play Store. But of course, the whole point of Crouton, once you add Crouton in there, now you have access to real apps, but you got the security issue. I think Google's seeing this. They're like, hey, we're going to allow you to run all the real apps that you could get within Linux in basically a VM instance container. And because of that, now you're going to have full application access to things like GIMP, Krita, all of these very powerful tools within the framework of ChromeOS, making it just as powerful as anything Windows has on the market. It's a huge threat. I think it's amazing.
So how's that going to work in your wonderful new Chromebook with a 16 gig SSD?
I don't have 16. I got 64, and they're expandable.
You have,
yeah,
but a lot of people out there will just have the barest minimum.
Well, then they would put an SD card in it, the micro SD card.
And run the Linux virtual machine off of that, yeah?
Yep. I mean, because all the Chromebooks, as far as I know, unless you know different, but everyone I've ever seen has a micro SD expandable slot for you to put in. And of course, those things go up to ridiculous amounts of gigabytes at this point. So I would imagine you could move all that software over onto that.
But will they run as quick?
Yeah, the only thing I have about it, the only thing I'm curious about is whether this applies to the x86 and the ARM Chromebooks or just the x86 Chromebooks, because the ARM Chromebooks, you're limited to what applications actually work on ARM. And the most useful part of the Chromebooks is the ARM versions, because they have the longest battery lives and stuff like that. So like this is cool that I'm glad they're doing it, because you can finally use applications rather than just a browser. That's, it only took them a couple years or so.
Shut up, Michael.
It's but it is cool that they're finally doing it. I'm just curious, like, how they're going to approach the fact that like not every application works on ARM anyway. So that seems I hope they come out with the information about how that's going to work soon, because
I like that they're thinking Linux more and more, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Maybe not even more and more, but they're continuing to think Linux. Let's put it that way.
So does that mean Ryan's only got 20 more months left out of his Chromebook? before it becomes obsolete.
No, mine will definitely be compatible with this. And if it's not, I will throw it at the Google headquarters.
And if it is, he's going to take it to Starbucks.
Yeah.
Well, look, Google's not the only one thinking about Linux right now. So Samsung, obviously, this has been out for a while about what they're doing or what they want to do. But there was a video that came out showing Linux running on a Samsung. Which
It's pure fire, man.
I thought it was awesome, dude. And, you know, I mean, we've talked about it for months, and we talked about convergence, and it was just awesome to see it in action, to see it go from the phone. And then I think in the video, it was running 1604.3 LTS.
Right. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So amazing to see how it can actually play out, because you can talk about it, but when you visually see it, you get it. And I don't know, is this something you guys want?
This is a big freaking deal. They didn't decide to boot ChromeOS with a Samsung phone here, right? Samsung is Android. They didn't decide. Samsung did not decide to boot ChromeOS, which would have been a natural, easy transition for them to accomplish this just as well and partner with Google and get that done. They're going for a full Linux distribution on here. This is so fire. I mean, it makes me want a Samsung again, and I haven't said that in a really long time, let me tell you. But there's so many use cases for this. If you're traveling or you're a mobile developer, you're working in different places. If you have your 4K monitor, you want to show it off in Starbucks. Oh, sorry, Zeb. You've got so many use cases for this, and Samsung's thinking Linux, and that's why I'm starting to love some Samsung up in here. I'm going to have to buy some more Samsung products.
So, Zeb, is this going to interest you?
It will be a novelty rather than something I must have. Yes, it'll be, but then can't you already put your phone onto the big screen anyway? And I thought that Samsung were going to be using their own version of Linux that we all thought was rubbish.
Michael, help me with these people.
It's great that they're using like just a regular distro and not their own, but it is pretty cool. If we're going to talk about convergence, I think the idea of having your desktop is still on the phone, but it's a different interface and it's a different thing entirely. They just like save files together. I think that's a really cool approach too. So
I agree. This was a fantastic way of doing it, because you don't, they've done this with phones before. There have been phones out there where it boots, you can dock it basically, and it boots into Android. This is actually like 8 years ago, I think they had a device that did this. But Android, you're kind of stuck in that same, you're just using your phone blown up, right? And got all the limitations that a phone has. This is different. This is, if you're a developer, code developer, web designer, anybody doing serious work, you now have all the power of Linux and full applications, not little Play Store toy applications at your disposal to be able to complete this work and do that on the go, especially if you're traveling. This is a big deal, man.
So I have a Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. Is this going to run on mine?
So it should work, but you'll need to get the Samsung Dex, which that's the name of the dock. You need to get that one too. So it doesn't work without the dock. They haven't really set a price, but it's looking at probably about $300.
So is this going to replace Android?
No, this is like you'll have an Android phone that when you dock it, it becomes Ubuntu or something like that. But your files will be shared between the two. So like all your home folders and stuff will be like, you'll be able to use like if you save a file, you do something on an app, save it into your SD card, then you plug it into the Dex, then you get access to that file on a desktop.
Right. So it'll only be available via the Dex. You won't be able to use Ubuntu on your Samsung phone walking down the street.
Well, they haven't said that you can't, but more than likely, yeah, you can't. More than likely. But technically, it is possible that they could do Ubuntu Touch or something with that. But I think their approach is mainly just like Android for the phone, Ubuntu for the desktop. Use the Samsung phone itself as like a storage mechanism for Ubuntu. When you plug it into the dock becomes like the power section. So like it'd be like all the extra hardware that you need for a desktop would be theoretically stored in the dock.
Imagine this: you go to a hotel, you go over to a friend's house, whatnot. You could literally take this device, take the dock, plug it into the hotel TV. Now you have a full computer. The only thing you had to carry with you is an external Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, and you're good to go. You've got a full computer: Firefox, Thunderbird, Terminal, Eclipse, GLX, Gears, GIMP, Sublime Text, Atom, whatever of the main software you're developing on is now there, boom, ready to go. When you're done, you just pull your phone, unplug it, take your phone with you. If you download something that work sent you, Michael sends me a file, whatever, I download it on my Android device. When I go to plug it back in, it syncs the files between the two. I can still continue to use it within either Android or the Ubuntu. I mean, this is a really cool idea, man.
So is there any additional storage on this DeX, or is that, again, or it's all in your phone where you're going to keep all this?
I don't think they've said either one. I don't think they've actually given any specifics about that. I would assume that there's a little bit on the DeX. There's probably like extra storage there, but you'll still use the storage on your phone. They might give you extra in the DeX. But like, I'm curious, like the terminal, how would the terminal work on, like, could you use the terminal on a desktop to affect the contents of the Android side? That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because terminal and Android, it's painful.
Sounds like it's one of these watch this space, see what comes out.
Yeah.
So Rocco, guess what?
What?
I love apps like Evernote, but I don't use Evernote specifically, but I like apps like that. I just want to make that clear. And our next story talks about apps like that. Okay. Now, I personally, and this was a big deal during 30 Days of Linux thing, where people were giving me a bunch of different options because I needed a cloud-based note-taking organization app. I need something like that. And I use Simple Note. It's my absolute favorite.
But we're not covering Simple Note.
Well, the reason why I use Simple Note is because Evernote and Tusk and all of these cool things didn't exist back then. But guess what? There's more. Today, you can use Evernote through a application called Tusk to use Evernote. Does that make sense?
No.
Use Tusk to use Evernote. That's kind of how it works.
But it is a
Tusk
snap
front-end client for the back end of Evernote.
There you go. That's kind of a little better said. Tiny bit better.
Tiny.
But Tusk is actually like I like Tusk because you can customize it and it looks good, and they have like different theming and stuff like that. So Rocco automatically likes it.
Automatically,
yeah. So what's really cool about it is that it's like the best way to utilize Electron framework is the Tusk approach, because the Tusk approach is like take something that's already good, it's already web-based, and then make a desktop version for you that's accessible and works well without having to like rebuild native things. Like a native application really wouldn't work for Evernote anyway. So this is like a really good implementation of why you would use Electron.
Cloud-based note-taking is one of the most important tools that in the last couple of years that have absolutely become part of my workflow, and having them within Linux is so important. And I told you, Rocco, every time I do a distribution, the first thing I install is Simple Note. And that's so I can start taking notes on fixes and bugs and issues and the good things and the bad, so I can go back and remember them later on. Do you use anything like this?
Well, I've tried all of them. Okay, so I used to use Evernote. I have a Simple Note thing, but I don't keep using them. I have them. I have an account. I put things in them, and it's almost, to me, I am so not used to using them as a regular app that I end up, it's like a drawer where you just throw stuff and you hide it and that's it. And you never go back in that drawer.
You need to make a note to self. Use more notes.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like bookmarks.
Put a sticky on your desktop.
I have like 4,300,000,000 whatever bookmarks, and I don't use any of them hardly.
You use 12 of them, maybe.
Maybe. So it's like and note-taking apps are kind of the same way. I guess they would be better if I got into the habit of using them more, but I'm just not in the habit right now.
I distro so much and eventually come full circle back to a distro I've used before. And the whole advantage is when you go back to that distro, by the time you get back around to it, you've forgotten, like, how do I get NVIDIA drivers to work in this distro? Or how do I do, this simple thing? And having Simple Note there and I actually organize it, and you could do this in Evernote as well, organize it by section. So I have, Debian-based distros, I have Arch-based distros, and all organized in how I, and bugs and fixes and patches and workarounds and that type of stuff, which helps me kind of keep organized. So, Rocco, here's what I'm telling you. You better start using one of these right now.
Well, look, with this new Tusk app, it's now a snap. It's got new improved themes, which, hey, I like new and improved themes.
There you go.
Improved tray icon integration on Linux and all kinds of other different options that, maybe I will try it. I don't know.
I like it.
But then that takes the fun out of winging it. And then coming back 3 weeks later and trying to wing it again because you've forgotten. Because otherwise that makes you the train spotter of hepatitis, Ryan. If you've got all these notes, you're like, oh, yes, I remember this one. Where's my number? Where's my engine number?
Yeah, but think about all the work that was given to you recently to help you in Telegram. And if you take those notes and store them in Simple Note or Evernote in this case, then 6 months from now, when you hop again, you'll be able to go back and go, how did he help me with that again? Oh, yeah.
I'll just ask him again. He remembers it. I don't.
Just ask him.
That's the easy way. You find someone who's good, so you never bother to learn. You just remember him, so you can go and ask him again.
Well, listen, I think Rocco's got the right attitude. Zeb, you're in timeout.
I mean, so Zeb, do you use any note taking at all? Like, would you?
Absolutely none.
Okay.
It reminds him too much of prison.
I never have taken notes. I mean, there's all these people at work who make these to-do lists. So I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll make to-do lists. Now, if I go back through my Outlook 3 years, there'll be about 254 to-do lists that I forgot to go back to. So I never do them.
So, you never to-do them.
Yeah. Well, if I'm at work, I have, really long lists that I make to do things. And I do use that kind of thing at work. But when I'm at home, I don't have that same flow, discipline, whatever you want to call it. And I'm in the same boat as Zeb, where I have, done 1,000 things that would have helped a ton if I would have wrote down notes for them. I just don't do it. I just don't.
Yeah.
So I built my own custom to-do system, and it's awesome. And then
so snap it up. Come on, let's all get hold of it.
Well, to be fair, it was awesome for me because it was like specific to my workflow, and I liked it. And then I found something better, and I don't use my thing anymore. I found something called Kanboard. And have you ever heard of a Kanban system, or you ever used Trello?
No. I don't use Trello, but I mean, I know, it's out there and what it is.
Okay. Well, the Kanban system is basically like, instead of a to-do list where it's just like one list and blah, blah, it's like column based. So you have a list here, a list here, a list here. And it's like, I need to do this, currently in progress, done, stuff like that. So with Kanboard is basically an open source, self-hostable Kanban system. And it's my favorite because it's so easy to use and it's so easy to set up, and you can basically provide your own cloud-based Trello with this thing. And by default, it looks kind of it doesn't have the best theming, but
then it's
functionally it's fantastic.
That's out then.
I have changed it so theming is okay. So it has a lot of potential. So anyway. That's my solution is to-do list system, Kanban style, and self-host it. Best of both worlds without having to worry about someone having my content.
So moving on from not taking notes, we've now got two interesting articles about Firefox because they're going to be focusing on different things in the upcoming releases. So the first one is on privacy and security. And I don't own a tinfoil hat, so these don't bother me. It's like people have VPNs. Why? Yeah. It just slows you down. If you're that worried about what people are finding out about you, unplug the cable from the back of the computer. You walk out your house, you go down the high street. Someone is going to be watching you. Someone's going to be recording what you're doing. You're going into the shop. You're buying stuff with a credit card. Someone's got information from you. So what does it matter that they've just seen you go to Toys R Us on the web browser?
if you have Windex sprayed on your aluminum foil hat, then they can't record you while you're going out into the stores, and their cameras are completely invalidated. Look, I think that this is, there are individuals who take privacy and security to the point where you can't have any fun. Like you said, just unplug everything and, go live off the grid inside the woods in a tent. And that's how they take their security. There are other people who just want more of a balance. And I think Firefox is giving you that. They're not doing anything here that takes any additional time to set up or really to do. They're blocking these annoying requests.
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's like every website you go to now wants to do this pop-up notification asking you, can I have access to send you notifications? That's the normal one I see. I don't see many that ask for
I heavily see the location one.
Yeah,
the location. Yeah.
Click no.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm just sick of
part of
seeing
the
it.
internet.
I get more of those than I would regular ads.
Yep.
It's just the way it is lately.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's actually become abusive, in my opinion. And here's what happens in web development. Generally, like when ads first started, there were little ads over to the side and you barely kind of noticed they were there. And if you wanted, you'd look. Then they started putting them in the middle of the page. Then they started exploding with full moving trucks and vans and sound playing and blaring. Yes, Michael, you're probably one who did this and invented this crap.
I was laughing because the guy who invented pop-up ads apologized.
But this is kind of what's happening with, what can happen with this type of stuff is now, right now it's a little bar that pops up and is like, hey, do you want to turn on notifications? Tomorrow it's a giant truck driving across my screen and people screaming and flailing and you're trying to get rid of it and you click and you already accepted it and now you get notifications every time you open your browser. So kudos Firefox 59 for doing this, man.
I agree. I really hate that I can't just tell them, no, I don't want you to ask. I will never give you my location to a website that I'm looking to buy ice cream from.
We've got pop-up blockers. So why doesn't somebody invent a location blocker? It's just something you turn off.
You can, but it's like this is a lot better because you can do it. You don't have to, like, this can be done by anyone as long as they just use the browser. You don't have to worry about trying to explain them to install an extension or an add-on to make it work.
Yeah, I'm sure there is in the about config settings things to turn off the locations.
Yeah, probably.
It's just you got to know. I mean, you could really mess things up in the about config if you're not sure what you're doing.
Yeah, they even warn you, like, are you sure?
Yeah, I'll be careful. I promise.
But how many
promise to not mess it up?
But the thing is, though, if you've used it enough times now, you know that's there. You never read it. You just go tick, yes, get out of my way. I want to do what I want to do.
Sure.
So those sort of like, are you sure?
But I think it's more like the people who are just like, just using the browser and they would like to have a way to stop it, but they're not going to deal with the about config because they might be worried they don't want to do it.
A tad too complicated, yeah.
Yeah.
Now this next feature, maybe Zeb, is a little more into the tinfoil hat stuff, but not too far into it.
Well, okay. So Firefox 60 will let users disable sync. If you didn't want to sync, why did you sign up for it?
I think what they're saying here is that that's a really good point, actually. I think they don't want even the option being there for certain, and I think this may be more corporate America style installations where they don't even want the end users to have the option to set up sync or to get that. They don't even want them to see it. And most likely some type of secure government facility, something like that, where they want to lock it down a little bit.
That's an interesting point for the company based structure. They don't want to risk someone syncing out of what they're doing because maybe it's like their privacy concerns. But I actually don't use sync and I've never tried to even use it. So it'd be nice for me if I could just disable it because I have no intention of using it.
But just ignore it. It's not that if you don't sign up for it, you don't have to click it. But I can now understand why.
It shows up when every time I click, just show the settings or the customize. It's always there. It's always asking me, do I want to sync? I'm like, no, I don't.
Let me ask you something, Michael. Has the aluminum foil on your windows reduced your heat bill?
Well, this is not a privacy concern, sir, or a security concern. It's just I don't care if they sync to my phone or not, because I actually prefer to have them separate anyway, because I don't use my phone enough to care if they're synced.
So
And I
aluminum
have, like,
foil
50
blankets, do they reflect the government signals going to your brain?
Well, I don't have to worry about reflecting. I use like the carbon fiber, so it just like disperses it.
Nice,
Right.
nice. Love it.
Well, it's also part of the Tor developers were interested in having a way to hide this because they don't want their users accidentally hitting it. So I don't know how you would accidentally enable this, because you have to sign up for an account.
I'm accidentally signing in. Here's my accidental username.
I guess maybe they mean if you already have an account, but you on Tor and you don't want to sync that account. So maybe then if you accidentally hit it. But
you accidentally signed in with your username and password. You shouldn't be using Tor in the first place if that's the kind of accident you make.
I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, that reminds me of a strange story I had when I was younger working for a guy. And we get frequent road stops in the UK. And he would always say, "No, I'm not answering your questions. Mind your own business." Driving around in a car with a number plate TM1. So everybody knew it was him anyway. So if he was worried about people knowing where he was going, take your personalized number plate off your car.
He's got a vanity plate but wants privacy. Love it.
Yeah.
Vanity plate with his name on it.
And that's a bit like, you know, you want to go on the internet, but you don't want everybody to know where you're going.
Right.
It's almost impossible to do. It's really, really difficult to cover every footprint.
I think it's fair to say that it's impossible to block it entirely, but I still think that we should totally like at least care.
Yes, you should care, because it's not just about, tinfoil hats or anything. And we've discussed this a lot of times, but it's more about why they should have access to the information. It's not about, oh, I'm going somewhere. Like me, I'm not going anywhere that I need to hide. But the point is, why do they need to know?
Yeah. Most of the time when people who ask you for your location on the web, it's like when Google Maps or like OpenStreetMaps ask me for my location. Hey, that makes sense because it's a map. But I don't need some random website that will just, I'm looking at some news articles. Hey, can we know where? No, you can't know. No, that's ridiculous.
And the other thing about this is, if you don't push back in any way, then after a while, it is just going to slide right down a hill where it will be a society where everything is recorded. Everything. I mean, yeah, it's getting there now, but if you got to push back a little bit so that it doesn't just go full blown and all the doors are open, and people have access to your data right now, but maybe people you might not want to have access to your data may have it later if there's no pushback to it. So that's my take.
That's a good point.
I have access to Rocco's browser history.
He does.
Sippycup.com he's on. He's ordering 4 sippy cups to keep it safe.
Okay, did we cover why you're talking about sippy cups? Because if we didn't, we should probably let people know why.
Well, you have a tendency to spill things.
So if we didn't cover it before, right before the episode, I spilled coffee on my keyboard. And
Rocco's the kind of guy you take to McDonald's and put a bib on him.
And now I need a new keyboard because my keyboard just decided to stop working. Now, wait. Now, I've been having trouble with this keyboard in the past week. Okay? And I spilled the Yeti cup on the keyboard, so it's not like this was a full-blown cup of coffee that went all over the keyboard. It was probably a sip of coffee that came out of this Yeti cup.
It was a little splash.
I mean, it was a splash, no lie. It was a little splash, and for whatever reason, the keyboard just stopped working.
So let's talk about your loyalty to Logitech now. Are we thinking about maybe changing that loyalty a little bit? Maybe it was misplaced? Maybe? Just a thought? A little bit?
I am loyal. I'm not loyal to Logitech. I am loyal to things that are awesome and have great features. And that is Logitech products. They are usually
a little dribble of coffee breaking it. High quality.
Wait.
But my kind of keyboard.
Wait. One of the Zowie mice that I got, the thumb buttons on them can move up and down, not just in and out. They move up and down. So every company, no matter how good the quality is, can have a defective product. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
This one was very susceptible to coffee.
This one was very susceptible to not working. So
that's
yeah.
why we're ordering you a sippy cup.
Yeah, that's why the sippy cup's there. So
Yeah.
So as when Rocco goes on to check out the sippy cup, he could use the new browser from the KDE project called Falkon. And the Falkon released their first version of, I'm not sure if they're calling it 1.0, but it's the first release of the browser that was formerly known as I always
say
said
it.
Cupzilla.
Just say it.
I always said Cupzilla. It could be Quapzilla. I don't know.
Cupzilla.
But there's
I
a
always
reason
said
why they changed
Cupzilla.
the name of it.
I say Cupzilla as well. Yeah.
Well-
I always said Cup. I don't know.
But is it Falcon or is it Falcon?
It's Falcon.
Okay, all right. Just saying.
Yeah. So like
So do you fall over or do you fall over? It's just like scones and scones, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah. Do you throw stones at people?
So Falkon is a really, really fast, lightweight browser. And when the Cupzilla team joined the KDE community, they decided to rename it because they were going to rename it anyway, especially considering that Cupzilla has absolutely nothing to do with Mozilla or Firefox in any way. So the name was super confusing. So the Falkon, I like that name. That's pretty cool. And it's got a lot of improvements from the previous Cupzillas, but mostly it's like a maintenance and like a speed improvement. Have you ever used Cupzilla or Falkon?
I have tried both. And I was going to ask you guys, I am so used to having extensions on my browser that I am not against using other browsers like this, but I am leery about using browsers that don't come with anything. What about you guys?
So, like, for instance, LastPass. Let me ask you, Michael, or one of the other password managers that are extension-based. You couldn't use that in Quapzilla.
Falcon.
Squeaky Weasel.
Squeaky Weasel. Yes.
I've got to find this browser that he keeps harping on about.
So, in addition, is it going to have any codecs installed to allow you to play like Netflix or Amazon Video or anything like that? Because here's the thing. People are like, oh, you can have this and you can have this browser and then use this browser for this. I don't want all that. I just want a browser that does it all, and Firefox can do that for me. So why do I need some of these?
I'm not saying people shouldn't, use Firefox. I'm a huge fan of Firefox. I just think Falkon is a really nice browser option for people who are, using low end hardware. They want to use something that's like very lightweight, and Falkon is probably the most lightweight while still being the most useful. Like,
Michael,
there are other
you did not
lightweight
answer
browsers.
my question. I said, can I play Netflix on it?
I don't know.
Michael doesn't have a Netflix account.
I've never heard you say those words, Michael. I've literally never heard you say, I don't know. Shocking.
Well, don't get used to it. And
So the best thing about this browser for me is it doesn't start with a K.
Yeah, that is a good
It's
What do you have
Falcon.
against K's, Zeb?
Well, because everything's K in KDE.
Every kiss begins with K.
Look, it's great that there's another browser that's here that you can use. It's just like I said, I was just trying to make the point that I'm in the same boat as Ryan, where I have certain things that I need, and this doesn't allow me to use them, so I probably won't be using it. But it's awesome to see them develop something. Maybe in the future it will.
they have talked about adding some extension stuff, and because they're based on the Qt web engine system, it's possible that they could use web extension type stuff. So it is theoretically possible that some extensions may be ported over, because they already technically have ported a couple, but I think they were doing those specifically for like ad block and stuff like that. But it's still pretty cool. I still like it, but I think Falkon has a lot of potential. And if anybody wants to check out like a light browser that's reliable, like I've had a couple issues with other ones, but I think Falkon is going to be like probably the go-to for that. I tested it one time where I put as many browser tabs that I usually use on other browsers, and the thing never got over like 150 meg usage. Like, it was amazing.
Wow.
But what's also amazing is BitWarden. So instead of LastPass, you could try out BitWarden as an extension for whatever browser you use. But
except for Falkon. Falcon.
But can it Netflix?
Well, that was going to ask. Can you use
Can
it?
you run Netflix and
We're not
BitWarden?
trying to connect these two. Okay. Anyway, so BitWarden, you could connect to your browser, but if you can't with something like Falcon, that's okay because BitWarden just released a new desktop app for
This solves my whole problem.
Exactly. You're completely fine now. And the BitWarden desktop app is a Electron-based application that is packaged in an app image. If you haven't tried BitWarden before, it's as Ryan said, it's kind of like it's an extension password manager that's kind of like LastPass, except they do a lot of things better than LastPass. There's a couple things that LastPass does better, but there's a lot more that BitWarden does. More importantly, it's open source and self-hostable, which is fantastic. I love that.
Okay, so
The open source part is nice, but the self-hosted.
I use BitWarden by your suggestion way back when.
That was your first mistake.
Yep.
I use BitWarden. It works great on my phone. It works great in Firefox. Why do I need a desktop app?
The issue we just described with Falcon would be one.
That's one, yeah. It might not work with every browser because they only support a couple browsers. So if you're not using that particular browser, this would be a good solution for that. There's other things that I think this would be better because it's an already preloaded thing and you don't have to worry about trying to load. There's certain aspects in BitWarden that are kind of sluggish because it's not running any of the extension data yet until you click it and activate it. So when it's like activating things, they need to improve that kind of stuff. But this approach allows you to have always there available to the speed. On my testing, the speed is better. The custom server thing was also kind of problematic for the extension. It's possible, but it's kind of funky.
Will this now then mean that I don't have to keep signing into the Mozilla version, and when I jump to Chrome, sign into that one and make sure it's up and running? Can I just install this and it will automatically open up in Firefox if I go to a website that's got a password stored?
It will open if you go into the application, the desktop app. If you open a website from that, it will open whatever your default browser you want to be open in.
But if I'm on a browser and I suddenly go to YouTube, will it sign me in?
The issue with that is that the auto login on the browser extension is like an experimental tool part. So I don't know. It works brilliantly. Yeah, it works great, but they call it they classify it as experimental. So I'm not really sure if they are comfortable with making the desktop one do that.
Well, since so many of you use BitWarden, why doesn't one of you go and test it?
Because that would mean uninstalling it off of the two browsers. So from what you've just said, let's go File, Exit, and I'll stick with it in my browser as an extension.
Yeah, I mean, I like it's great to have the both options is the thing. So for example, being able to do certain tools that are only available in the desktop. So being able to manage your passwords more than just if you ever tried to open your you open a password in your extension. And this happens on LastPass too. And you click something, you click, oh, I forgot I need to click something else before, and you go back and it's all reset because you have to do the search again. You got to do all this other stuff again. This allows you to have a separate thing where the passwords are still stored in the same location. So, but you can do a lot more customization and more managing of it without any headaches.
You know what I hate in LastPass? The moments where it's like, hey, do you want us to make a password for you? I'm like, sure do. And then you have it make one, and then it decides for whatever reason not to save that password that it made that I have no idea what it is. And now I have to spend the next 15 minutes trying to reset it.
Maybe if you use BitWarden. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I think I might have to switch. But listen, Rocco, I think I've come up with a title for our show.
What's that?
I'm thinking it's I'm thinking Linux or something along those lines, because we've got Google thinking Linux that we talked about. We have Samsung thinking Linux that we talked about. And there's one more story I want to cover before we get into gaming, and that's Amazon thinking Linux. Do you know what Amazon's doing?
What's Amazon doing besides selling stuff?
Listen, buy a Camry and a Sienna, and you're going to have Linux in there today.
That's
or
true.
The Japanese version of the Prius.
Yeah.
What's a Sienna?
It's a van, I think.
Yeah, it's a van.
Is it?
Man, I think the automotive grade Linux, it's been around for a little while, but I think it's a fantastic approach because like it's Toyota and also other companies are working together to make automotive grade Linux. It's not just like they're using it, like they're even like contributing to it in like a collective. So that's pretty awesome.
I mean, this stuff has always happened, right? These big companies behind the scenes have used Linux, but they've never talked about it. Now we're starting to see these gigantic tech firms leveraging Linux, and they're talking about it up front and out with the public. Linux it really starts helping to push the case when you're telling people to use Linux, and then you have companies like Amazon, Google, and Samsung also telling people to use Linux.
But I want to know why it's taken the car industry so long to jump on the bandwagon. I mean, you have all of the ATMs. They've been running Linux for how long now? Like, because of it being so customizable. How come?
And technically, there are some companies that use Linux in a bare bones way to like mitigate, like not mitigate, but like to compensate for like certain aspects of the computer and the chips.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, Michael, where you have companies that are trying to differentiate themselves from everybody else. When you can use Linux and customize something down to the very core level to be your brand, why would you not do that? Why is it taking so long for the car manufacturers to do this? I don't understand.
That's a very good point. I have no idea.
But they're here and they're doing it now.
Yeah,
buy a Sienna. You'll look awesome in it.
Yeah, it is pretty cool that they're doing it, and especially the Toyota is already like shipping cars with it. That's pretty cool.
It is cool.
But there's the thing I like about this is the Amazon integration with the speech recognition is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I kind of wish Nuance would work on other things that they canceled, and that's not important. But like Amazon working on like this is they're adding their stuff into the automotive grade Linux that brings so much more potential to other manufacturers picking it up too.
You know what's awesome? You know what I like?
What do you like, Rocco?
Gaming.
Do you? You like one game anyway.
One anyway. Rocket League. That's what gaming's all about, right, Michael?
It's just
when you say gaming,
game. I don't know what you're talking about.
Rocket League. Period.
It's not called PC gaming. It's called PC game.
All right, Ryan, what have you been playing this week, man?
Man, this is a good one. Zeb, listen, first of all, we need to clear something up, Zeb.
Wow.
I'm kind of annoyed by some comments that you left on last week's YouTube video, and we're gonna hash it out right here, even though this is our positive.
Wait, this is a positive episode, right?
Yeah, well, we're gonna talk about Dogafesto Communist or whatever.
Bring it on, big fella.
Or whatever it was.
Communist Dogafesto.
Well, look.
Is this the one where you kept crawling through the vent and then you couldn't kill one itty bitty dog?
Yeah, that's the one, Zeb. I watched the video.
Yeah.
Look, Zeb, here's the deal with that.
Tell us what happened, Ryan. Tell us why you couldn't kill the dog.
You need to understand, Zeb, that there are games that we go through that we say are coming out for Linux. And then there's Ryan's Game of the Week. Ryan's Game of the Week is a game that I either recommend or hate, that I say I play. But the other games, we're just mentioning they exist. So while I told you that you were a fool for not playing Dogafesto Communist, you were right at one time. Because it was the stupidest game ever. Oh my gosh!
But the graphics were great.
So wrong, Zeb. I really wanted you to be wrong. Oh my gosh! But let me tell you something. I'm not wrong about this because I actually played this game before the episode. It is Iron Maiden, and if you ever have nostalgia towards,
is this Doom?
It is kind of like Doom, and in fact, 3D Realms, the creator of the massively popular shareware platform. If you guys remember carrying around, those little hard disks that you would carry and you'd get shareware and you could go play games like Wolfenstein and Duke Nukem and Commander Keen and all that. Well, the company behind that has released this game, Iron Maiden. It's a throwback to that era. You've got Gatling guns, shotguns, enemies coming in from all around. It's very much a throwback to that. And it's
a Doom remix.
It's very fun. It's very, very fun. And you've got the main character doing the 80s style one-liners. I mean, that alone, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger throwing a spear through someone telling him to stick around, that type of one-liners. How can you not enjoy that stuff?
When's it coming
All
out
about
then?
bubblegum.
It's out right now.
Really?
Yeah, I've been playing it.
Okay.
$17.99, so it's a little steep on the price. Little steep on the price.
Would the graphics pass my test or no?
Nothing would pass your graphics test, Rocco. Unless it's cars with rockets on the back of it. No.
That's fair.
It definitely wouldn't pass your test.
In fact, no game we're about to talk about this week is going to pass your test.
Sorry.
In fact, Zeb will not like any of these games either. Like Zeb likes Euro Trucker, right? So he likes to have realistic trucks that he's driving around. So
To drive unrealistically.
So unless you guys see me reviewing a game like, I don't know, Stuck in Traffic 2017, we're probably not going to have a game that Zeb likes. You know,
The Daily Commute simulator.
I was actually thinking of playing this because I used to like Doom.
Oh, okay, all right.
So that's the only one of the ones that here.
Wait. You heard it. You heard it here first. Zeb is going to be live
Playing it
streaming.
tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly.
Live streaming
Has to
Iron
be.
Maiden.
I said this is one of the games I might have played.
Oh,
I cannot
sorry.
wait to watch it.
I'll be glued to the seat, Zeb, waiting for it.
What other game do we have this week?
Okay, so we have a game called Vaporum. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Close
So if you like Diablo, you may find this okay, I guess. I'm not a big fan of Diablo. Okay, so
Okay, I guess.
How could you not be a fan of Diablo?
I'm not a fan of Diablo.
It's only one of the greatest games probably ever made.
I'm going to
Okay.
agree with Rocco on this one. I'm not.
Wow, that's so sad.
It's the type of game. It's not really Diablo itself. It's it's just like
I
this.
mean, Torchlight, you don't even like that?
It's the style.
Hang on. Shipwrecked in the middle of the ocean.
It sounds familiar,
One
doesn't
of those games.
Sounds
You
familiar,
still
don't it?
Water.
Half an hour wandering around, looking in cabinets and reading manuscripts and.
I don't know why we do this section. You guys only play one game.
But this is a steampunk type game, so it's slightly different.
Look, this game has the soundtrack looks like it's going to be amazing. If you're into Legend of Grimrock, Eye of the Beholder series games, those type of things, you're going to love this, man. This is a super popular game style, and it's got already 201 very positive reviews.
Well,
at $19.
We talked about it in one of the previous episodes, and it has decent graphics on it. It has that grid-based style, but I'd love to know like exactly how it plays out. Like, what is the point? Like, what are you doing as you're going through this grid space? Is there a point to it? Is there a boss at the end? What is the deal with it, Ryan? Do you know?
Yeah, you definitely have boss fightings. It's a dungeon crawler, so as you basically have the whole grid system is. You're basically seeing your inventory. Think about it like i3. You have window management.
Did you say something?
Your inventory and everything is tiled on your screen so that you don't have to click separate shortcuts to get to it. And you're going through this dungeon, and if you see an enemy, you've got some options like an MMORPG at the bottom, to cast a spell or hit them with a cane or whatever you've got. But it's that style of game, and this is a super popular style of game that I think all of you, as part of your homework to get more knowledge in the gaming realms, should all buy and play this game this week.
It looks good, but it's for me no real difference to the Iron Maiden one. You're just running around killing things.
Well, this game is $19, so I mean, there's a lot of content and fun to be had here, and a lot of people like it for that $19. There you go.
I'm not saying that people wouldn't enjoy it. It's not my type of game, so I don't think I'd survive your challenge. It doesn't have car or rockets. I mean, that's an automatic. Like those two particular things, if you put that in any game, it makes it amazing automatically.
I'm with you.
But speaking of surviving Mars was available for pre-order this week. So it's a new game that is being released or available pre-order on GOG or Good Old Games, if you didn't know what GOG meant. And so
I wonder how many people don't know what that means.
they call themselves just GOG now, or GOG.
That's what I mean. Like that's all you see it. That's how they label
Everybody
everything.
calls it GOG.
Yeah.
GOG,
Yeah,
GOG.
they just completely got rid of the because they don't do old games anymore, so they just completely ignore that name.
Interesting. All right.
But so Surviving Mars is a sci-fi city builder, so where you're trying to colonize and survive Mars. So that's just kind of like it's like a Sim City meets The Martian. That's pretty cool. I like the idea.
Yep. I love that too. And the game's $39.99. What I love is they're releasing it for Windows, Mac, and Linux at the same time. Now, I like to translate the money for our friends in Britain and other areas. So that's about 29 marigold shillings where Zeb lives.
That's just too expensive.
Marigold.
You've gone from $17 to $20 to $30.
Is that a lot of marigold shillings?
That's too much for a game, that's for sure.
Okay.
I'm just ignoring the
what else can you buy with 29 marigold shillings? Just curious.
Well, you can't
I can buy a baseball bat and visit you. That'd be a good game.
Wow, that went deep.
That was
this was supposed to be our happy episode.
That was harsh.
Man,
I'm just a loose cannon. Sorry, boys.
Don't make fun of their money over there. They take it serious.
Oh my gosh. Revenge is better served cold.
Man, he went for it.
All right, so everybody plays games on Steam. Have you ever wanted to back up one of those games that doesn't offer the cloud synchronization?
Yeah.
Often.
Okay.
Ion Maiden would have been one while I was distro hopping.
Okay, so there is a program called SLSK, and it stands for Steam Linux Swiss Army Knife. I don't know where
where's the A gone?
I don't know where the A's gone, but I guess because
maybe it's Swiss -Army.
Yeah, it is, but it doesn't translate into the name. But anyway, this will let you back up and restore your Steam configs. So I downloaded it, I tried it, and on KDE Neon, and I wasn't the only one having the issue because there was other people having the same issue where it wasn't allowing you to actually try it. You would tell it where the location of your games were, and it wasn't highlighting the next. So I didn't actually get to use it. But apparently it was, from what I read after trying it, it was an issue with not the right path, although I did give it the right path. And so I'm not sure exactly what happened with it. But it looks like an awesome program that is sorely needed.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think?
I want to see it combined with Lutris. Can you imagine having the combination of Lutris and then you have this backup tool within Lutris so that you kind of have all of your gaming tools outside of Steam into one? I mean, I know this is difficult in the Linux world to ask for collaboration, but can those two get together and work on this, please? Because it's an awesome idea. I mean, it's something I missed this week when I was doing the distro hop. I had started playing Iron Maiden, and then it doesn't have Cloud Sync, and I switched distros, and I had lost all my save progress. So I'd have loved to have had it.
Yeah, not good. Is it only this install script thing where you have to build it, or has it got a deb file and stuff?
I use the script, so I don't know exactly what all it has as far as installed, but it had. We'll put a link in the description for the article at OMG Ubuntu, and you can put in the commands and install it.
At the moment, it's compiling only, but it might change in the future.
Yeah, because at the moment I do a weekly, just grab my local share game file and chuck it on an external USB. But this would be much easier if it would store it to the cloud so that the next time you installed the game, it said, do you want to carry on where you left off? Yeah, hang on a minute. And dumped all the files back on your hard drive. That would be good. Yeah, and in fact, that would save you to having to put all those symlinks in because you could just install the game and away it go.
I don't reinstall my system for 2 years, so it's all good.
You don't have that, bro. I think out of this group of gamers here, I want to know how many of you actually use a Steam controller. I'm one of them. I love my Steam controller. Who has a Steam?
I like mine as well. It's right here because it needs to be on camera all the time.
I have a Steam controller.
I use my Xbox.
So Rocco has one, Michael has one, I have one. Zeb, do you have one?
I don't have a Steam controller. No, I use my Xbox controller.
But proper Steam controller support is coming to the Linux kernel finally. So as you know, if you've used your Linux controller before, you pretty much have to have Steam open, and then you can kind of use it like a mouse, even if you want to move around your desktop, etc., or within games, of course. But now they're going to be adding some additional support into the kernel itself, so that maybe you won't even have to have that Steam client open to be able to instantly connect with this controller. A lot of people do a workaround. They use an app called SC Controller. You might have to do that soon. What do you think?
Awesome. I like that because there's so many games I would like to use this. Like the Steam controller is great for certain types of games, like platformers. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And there are certain there's some games that I have that are not in Steam, so making it work in those games is painful. So like if it was just built into the kernel, that solves it completely.
This is a big deal. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Well, like I said, I have a Steam controller, but I don't use it because I'm more of a keyboard mouse centric kind of guy. So even in Rocket League, I'll play with the mouse and keyboard.
Yeah. It's okay if you make mistakes.
You don't have a keyboard left anymore, so you might want to start using the Steam controller.
Touche.
Yep. There you go.
All right. So that's pretty much all we got. What are you going to be doing this week, Zeb?
I'm going to continue using Calculate Linux because I've got it installed. So I just want to confirm to myself for another week that, yes, it was a nice experiment, but I won't be doing it again because the reward, other than the fact that I can now say I'm a Gen 2 user, but I'm not really, I'm a derivative user. So I just want to prove to myself that, yes, it's not the be all and end all of Linux distributions.
No, that's i3.
You can use it on any distribution.
Shut up.
Michael, what are you going to be up to?
So here's my plan.
Yep.
So I typically release one video a week and have been for a while. My plan is to actually do another one.
Wow.
I know that was my plan of this past week as well. And the one before that. And the one before that one. But this one's going to happen.
This one really, really seriously.
Yes, it is set in stone. Whoa. With a crayon, but still, it's set in stone.
So, Zeb, you're going to be streaming? Ryan?
So, listen, what I'm going to be doing this week is, I want you guys to take a bet. Am I going to be on GNOME next week when we start filming the next episode? That's the question.
No.
Yes.
Zeb says yes. Look at that. Rocco,
I have a way to make you consider doing it. So it's probably like 50-50 maybe, but I actually found a guy who made i3 work as the window manager in GNOME.
Ooh,
that's interesting. I just want to see how it works.
Really fun, actually. Yeah, you send me information on that.
Then that's not using GNOME.
Yes, it is. It's a combo.
It's GNOME adjacent.
No,
okay.
It's not part of the
What?
list.
No.
It's not. It doesn't go with the GNOME challenge.
You still get the shell though. You still get all the shell features and extensions.
No,
and
you
stuff.
have to use the
using
GNOME
Mutter
workflow.
You're not using Mutter. You'd be using i3 instead. Everything else would still be.
But you'd be using a different workflow.
I predict one way or another I will be on GNOME. I will be on GNOME some way, somehow, next week when we record again. Because I've found the workflow that I have made it work for me right now. So there you go.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Well, I'm going to be, I was actually looking for a new mouse, but I think I'm going to need a new keyboard. So I'm going to be on the hunt for a keyboard, I guess. And we'll see what happens with that.
If it takes Rocco a really long time to reply to you on Telegram, it's because he has his Steam controller and he has to use the on-screen keyboard one key at a time.
Oh my gosh. You should have seen me trying to get back on the computer after my keyboard was whacked out. Because at first it did work. And it was only the number one, because the number one was stuck and it was clicking all the way through. Well, then the number one didn't work at all. So the keyboard started working, but the number ones wouldn't work. Neither the number pad or the number one. And then the whole thing just died. There you go. On to happier news. We will return next week with another episode, hopefully. Hopefully with not as many technical issues that we had this week.
This was some episode, man.
This was a tough one, man, but
yeah,
we made it.
Yes,
So we want to thank everybody for watching, for listening, however way you do it. Everybody have a great week. And remember, the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Destination Linux podcast.
So what happened, boss?
So the power went out. So there you have that.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Rocco, we can't hear you anymore. Rocco? Rocco, are you saying anything? Did the storm
He
knock
broke
out your
his mic as well.
Did you spill coffee on your mic? Okay, Rocco, what's your perspective?
Okay, so I
Rocco,
think I have.
what's your thoughts on this? Rocco, do you have an opinion?
You're making a lot of editing.
Over to you, Rocco.
You're making a lot of editing for me.
Over to you. Over to the booth, Rocco.
Is the news desk this Rocco?
Has anyone seen Rocco? This just in. Rocco is missing. Go ahead.
You done?
Hey, I was about to tell you until you interrupted. Amazon engineers have teamed up with Nuance.
Sorry, you was going to tell us what before you interrupted?
I don't know, Zeb.
Don't you do this back to me that I did to you, Rocco.
He was going to do something. Go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
The good news.
Well, if the cap fits, you got to use it.
The good
and
news,
you've got a cap on,
guys,
so
is
yeah.
that
Ryan, what's the
you're
good
going
news?
to be able to run
Will you tell us the
Linux
good news?
in your Toyota Camry.
Why are you taking forever to say it?
Dude,
say
just spit it out. Just spit it out and tell us what
Just
you want to
spill
tell
the
us.
You put
beans.
Linux in your car, just like you run it on your desktop. You better go buy a Toyota.
Is that all you got?
That's it.
Is that it? We waited all of that for a one-liner? Really? Next.
Rocco, you've ruined the show.
It's totally
You
ruined.
stopped.
man.
It's gone. I'm done. Is there ever going to be an episode, Rocco, where you go, hey guys, good job?
I didn't know that we already decided that.
Yeah, we were just talking about it. You weren't listening.
Right, yeah. I guess I wasn't included in that.
Oh, your power might have flicked out.
Yeah, it might have.
Save it for the show.
Oh my gosh. Fine.
I
good
wanted to
point,
say
Zeb.
those words.
Whatever, Zeb.
Yeah, good point, Zeb.
Whatever.
Rocco, please get some control over this.
This is ridiculous.
Why? I'm a loose cannon. Leave me.
Can we start?
Apparently not. Zeb's over there like, oh, this, the violin I happen to have. And he says it's the cord for his headphones. There's no way it makes that sound.
I think that hit a nerve. Just saying.
You have got some editing to do this week.
Wow.
And I'm Ryan.
Oh my gosh. I was just about to start.
I don't know. I just felt like getting started. And I'm Ryan, folks.
Welcome to Destination Linux.
I think that baseball bat's coming soon, Zeb.
Louisville Slugger.
Oh, man.
That's your new name.
Louisville Slugger.
Things. I don't have an excuse. I'm just trying to say things to pretend that at some point it might come out. I don't know.
I like Google.
I've never used Android Pay.
Somebody soundbite that, please. Dude, for the first time, I want a Samsung, and I haven't said that forever, right? IDOS Google wants a Samsung device, finally.
Everybody have a great week. And remember,
The journey itself.
It's just as important.
as the destination.
everybody have a great week. And remember,
The journey itself.
It's just as important as Michael breaking down on the destination.
that's it. Everybody have a great week. And remember,
The journey itself.
It's just as important
as the destination.
So I can get this on my S8?
Yeah, man. I'm
Yep.